Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. This story is about, what if Naruto sacrificed himself? If you enjoy watching my videos, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to never miss out when I post videos. Let me know down in the comments if you want more parts of this series. With all that said, let's start the video. Chapter 1. Prologue, The Fox and the Rabbit. Flashes of light, clashes of steel, a spark here, an explosion there. A golden flame flitting about a purple giant, with a lone woman in white floating above them both. Below rest three mortals, two men and a girl. They watch as the future of their world is decided by the embodiment of light and love, Naruto Uzumaki, and his brother in all but name, Sasuke Uchiha, the paragon of hatred and darkness. Together, the light and dark battle out the future of the world with Kaguya Otsutsuki, the grandmother of their predecessors. Kaguya had returned to life through a convoluted plan concocted by the feeble creature called Black Zetsu, although that was not his real name, which had enslaved the world. The battle was going poorly. Though Naruto and Sasuke possessed battle instincts honed through years of combat, and had developed techniques considered beyond the average shinobi, the fact was that they didn't come close to the power held by Kaguya. She'd become the Jinchuriki of Madara Uchiha, who was the Jinchuriki of the 10 Tails, the conglomerate of all 9-tailed beasts. She also bore the Byakugan, an eye that was capable of seeing all around the wielder, even chakra. On top of these ridiculous powers, she also wielded a strange eye which emerged from her forehead that resembled the eye of the 10 Tails. It most likely signified her connection to the 10 Tails, but Naruto and Sasuke couldn't be sure it didn't bestow other powers beyond simply those of the 10 Tails. All these powers in a single foe made the battle untenable, and it was beginning to show. With a blast of blue chakra, the giant Susanoo enveloping Sasuke was shattered, sending him crashing to the ground. Glancing behind himself, Naruto flies down to the ground, releasing his Kurama avatar to protect everyone. "Sakura, how's Sasuke?" he demands, keeping his eyes on Kaguya as Kurama fights for him. "Not good. He's lost almost all of his chakra, and he's overused his Manjikyu Sharingan," she replies solemnly. "I'm honestly surprised he's not blind. From what Kakashi-sensei told me, he was going blind during our last encounter with him." Obito quickly interjects, "It's because Sasuke no longer bears his own eyes," he rasps out, completely exhausted from wrenching open time-space after time-space. Sasuke now wields the eyes of Itachi Uchiha, which gives him the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, much like what Madara wielded in the time of the first Hokage. "I don't really get it, but we don't have time to worry about that. Sasuke, when will you be ready to fight? I can't keep fighting her forever like this," Naruto cries, as another of Kaguya's blasts hit Kurama, creating buffeting winds and immense force. "I don't know if I'll be up for a while. I've got nothing left," he groans, covering his left eye with his hand. "Well, at this rate we're gonna lose Sasuke, so you better get your ass off the ground and start helping," Naruto yells. "Weren't you listening to me, loser? I'm out of chakra, it'll be days before I recover. I just can't do any more. We should retreat into Obito's time-space, and recover there. Then we can come back, and try again," Sasuke snarled. "We can't do that." Obito gasps out. "If I can penetrate Kaguya's time-space, then she could definitely enter my own. Besides, I don't have enough chakra to pull us all there." Kakashi frowned. "Sasuke, could you give Naruto whatever it is you need to have so he can seal her alone? In your present condition, you're more of a hindrance than a boon." Sasuke glared at Kakashi, hatred clear in his eyes. "I can't give away this power. It's mine, gifted to me by the sage of the 6 paths. It is the right of the Uchiha to bear this power. I won't forsake the memories of all the fallen Uchiha for anything." Obito glanced up, his coal-black eyes tired. But Kakashi raises a good point. Naruto, Black Zetsu called this the root dimension, and told Kaguya she could absorb chakra from the shinobi trapped in her. Infinite Tsukuyami here. Could you do the same, and boost your sage power? I could, Naruto replies as the Kurama avatar is shaken by a buffet of chakra. But I won't. That would kill maybe thousands of people, all for a move that might not work. Even if I do, Kaguya will just absorb more chakra from them to ensure that what I take won't be a threat, killing even more people. Sasuke looks up, his Sharingan deactivated and his Rinnegan closed to the world. Naruto, it doesn't matter how many people die. This is a fight to protect the world, and a couple thousand people are not worth losing the whole world over. I don't care. I won't risk the lives of everyone back home to defeat this enemy. Obito quickly interjects before the fight between them can get worse. Not to raise concerns, but Naruto, you should be paying attention to the fight. Naruto spins around, his chakra cloak flapping, and sees that Kurama's avatar has lost an arm, and both of its legs. With a roar, he channels chakra into a giant spinning orb, with smaller orbs orbiting it. Planetary Rasengan. He roars, a chakra arm emerging from his chest and smashing it into Kaguya. You got her. Sakura cheers, seeing the veritable goddess being propelled away from them at breakneck speeds. That should buy us a couple seconds. Kakashi notes, pleased with the results of his student's attack. Naruto. Obito wheezes, give Kakashi some chakra. What? Obito, Naruto needs all the chakra he can get right now. I'll be a waste on his reserves. Kakashi reprimands. Because I have an idea. Obito gasps. Kakashi, what are the weaknesses of the Byakugan? Kakashi thinks for a moment. There's a blind spot behind each wielder's head, and he trails off, seeing Obito's plan. Exactly. The Byakugan. Obito breaks down into a coughing fit, but quickly recovers. The Byakugan cannot see through chakra. It sees too well. When confronted with either a chakra flare or a chakra cloud, the Byakugan can be temporarily blinded. Kakashi, you know over 1,000 jutsu. If you don't have a chakra cloud or flare in your arsenal, I'd think you wasted my gift. Obito hacks out a laugh, but soon coughs harshly. Naruto turns and looks at Kakashi. I didn't understand much of what Obito said, but it sounds like you have an idea, Kakashi-sensei. Here. He reaches out his hand and touches Kakashi's arm. Take this. Chakra, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi reels back as the chakra enters his system, filling it to the brim. With a relieved sigh, he looks up. I'm ready. He intoned, before beginning the hand seals. Wait. Obito whispers, his voice a mere croak. You need to wait for Kaguya to return. She'll not enter the cloud. He breaks off, wheezing and out of energy, before collapsing. Obito. Naruto cries, before reaching out to him. Naruto. Don't waste your chakra on him. Sakura reprimands Naruto, before looking down on Obito. He doesn't deserve it. Wait until after the battle, then you can heal him if he's still alive. Sasuke agrees with Sakura, don't do it, loser, just leave him. He's a waste of your chakra, which we all need right now. Before Naruto can respond, the Kurama avatar is smashed down from the sky. Above them stands an absolutely massive chakra construct. It bore horns, long hair reaching its waist, and a white chakra robe. With 10 swirling tails emerging from its backside, each hundreds of meters long. The group gawks up at it, and Kakashi's hands fall to his sides. My jutsu won't be effective on something that huge, he declares calmly. Naruto and Sasuke look up in fright, and Sakura, upon seeing something so much larger than the 10 tails, faints. Naruto looks down at Sakura and Obito, both of whom are unconscious. "Naruto, we have an idea," says Kurama. "What is it?" Naruto replies mentally, still in shock at the sight of Kaguya's tailed beast transformation. "You have no hope of defeating Kaguya right now. She's undergone tailed beast transformation, however, like when we first joined this way, Kaguya will not be able to hold this form for more than 4 minutes. I get it. So all we need to do is hold out for that long, and attack when she's weakened." "You idiot. We won't survive a single minute, much less 4. Her power is much greater than ours. Should she try, she could vaporize this entire time-space. So, what should we do, Kurama?" "Do what the Uchiha brat suggested, use that Uchiha's Kamui, and hide there." "But he said that Kaguya could follow us there." "She might. However, it would take her a few minutes to find the correct time-space, and even then, she'd need to amass a vast amount of chakra to enter the Uchiha's time-space, far more than he had to enter hers." "Okay, Kurama. Let's wake up Obito," Naruto exclaims in his mind. He reaches down to Obito, and then stops. "Kurama, we don't know how much chakra it would take to transport us all to his dimension." "By the sage brat. Just give him enough to wake him. Then ask him yourself." Naruto nods, and reaches down to Obito's chest, transferring chakra into his body. Obito woke with a start, with about a quarter of his chakra returned to him. Looking up, he sees Naruto kneeling above him, a hand on his chest. "Naruto, what are you doing?" "Go, fight Kaguya," he says, startled to find that it isn't hard to talk anymore. "Obito, we need to hide in your time-space. Kaguya just got an insane power-up, and we need to wait it out." Naruto yelps, as the Kurama avatar flies around the now completely visible 10 tails Madara. Avatar that Kaguya is enwreathed within. "I don't have enough chakra to take the whole body of the 9 tails. You'd need to drop your transformation for a couple seconds for me to do so. I can give you more chakra. Then we don't need to drop our defense." Naruto responds. "Naruto, my body can't contain that much chakra without a vessel, I'd overload and explode. That's why we sealed the tailed beasts into the ghetto statue first. Human bodies can't contain that much chakra, unless it's their own. We have no choice, Obito. We're all gonna die unless we do something. At least take Sakura, Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke with you, that way I can fight Kaguya with no holds barred." Obito was stunned, but unfortunately knew that this wouldn't work. "Naruto, we can't leave you here. You'll die, and then we'll have no hope of sealing Kaguya. There's only one thing we can do." Sasuke shifted around, watching the exchange with interest. "What do you suggest?" Obito lowers his eyes to the ground. "I can give you my eyes, Naruto. With your vast chakra, you'd be able to use the Kamui to take everyone with you to my time-space." Naruto was shocked. "Obito, I can't take your eyes. For one, that's gross, and secondly, they're yours." Obito laughs sharply. "My left eye has spent more time outside of my skull than in it, I'm sure I can live without my right as well." Naruto looks him dead in the eye. "All right. But you are taking them back once we get into your time-space. Deal?" Obito looks at the boy willing to give up the Sharingan, and thinks to himself, maybe, just maybe, it would be better for people who never want a Sharingan to receive it, just like Itachi. He shakes himself a bit. "Very well, once we get to the time-space, I'll take it back from you." Naruto smiles grimly. "You better." Kakashi looks down at Sakura. "We'll need to wake Sakura for this. She'll perform the transplant." Obito immediately shakes his head. "We don't have time. Trust me, she's not good at dealing with eyes." He remembers back when he asked her to stab out Madara's Rinnegan, and she spent a ridiculous amount of time just shaking. He shudders. No, with Naruto's healing factor, and the DNA of the first Hokage within me, we'll both be fine without a medic this time. We can't risk any more delays. His statement is compunctuated when the Ten Tails transformation strikes Naruto's Kurama avatar with one of its tails, sending them flying through the air. Obito reaches to his face, and after bracing himself, pulls out his left eye. Without so much as a grunt, he hands it to Kakashi. Hold that, Kakashi. Kakashi looks revolted. Naruto reaches to his eyes, and pulls one out. It's the most painful thing he's ever experienced. He releases a pained scream, and pants. He looks over at Obito with his remaining eye, and grunts out, "How the hell aren't you in pain right now?" Obito smiles at him. "I am. But I believe that this is the right thing to do." Naruto grimaces, and hands his eye over to Sasuke. "Sasuke, keep this safe, I'll be wanting it back after this is all over." Sasuke grunts, and slips it into one of the sealing matrices on his vambraces. With that, both Obito and Naruto pull out their final eyes, and Naruto takes them both. With a grunt, he slides them into his eye sockets, with the healing chakra from his Sage Mode and Kurama working in tandem to integrate it into his skull. However, with a sudden crash, they all look up to see a massive sphere of black chakra. "Oh shit," says Kakashi. "Guy, remember what you said earlier? This one is a little big for one of those things." The sphere hovered above them, and Naruto, with a split second, deactivates his Kurama avatar. He spins, creating 4 shadow clones without even a hand seal. Each clone grabs one of his friends, with the last clone flying towards Kaguya to buy him precious time. The clones blast away from him, faster than even the Sharingan can track. "Naruto," yells Sasuke, "what the hell are you doing?" "Sorry Sasuke, but we need to clear the blast. The boss can handle it, he's got a plan." "What the hell do you think you can do? You can't stop that thing. Only the power of the Rinnegan can do that." Naruto frowns. "Sasuke, I'll be honest, I don't know if the boss is gonna survive this attack. He has a plan that will stop Kaguya, but I don't know if he'll come out alive. So if he doesn't, I need you to promise me something." Sasuke glares with his one good eye. "What the hell are you talking about, loser? What do you want from me?" "Sasuke, in case I don't survive this, I have one last request for you." Naruto smiles grimly, even as they fly through the air, no doubt dozens of kilometers away by now. "I need you to become Hokage. Not whatever revenge-driven crazy Hokage you wanted to be, but a good one, like Itachi would have been, one who can see both the light in the village and the dark, someone who can bring everyone together, like a family." Sasuke glares at Naruto. "My family is dead, Naruto, they died for that village that you're so fond of. But don't worry, brother. When you're dead and gone, I'll rule the village, and I'll make sure that the village remains strong." Naruto sighs. "Sasuke, I want you to be Hokage because your family is dead. I want you to see the whole village as your family." "Ha! You know, loser, the first Hokage said that to Madara. And look what he became, a weak man dependent on a tree, and the tailed beasts. A pathetic relic of the past." Naruto sighs. Who knows, maybe if he'd become Hokage, Madara could have saved the world, just maybe. Suddenly, the tailed beast bomb on the horizon swells in size, nearly blocking out the light of the setting sun. "Huh. That's bigger than I thought it would be." Naruto comments, nonplussed at the giant sphere of destruction. "Loser, why don't you just use the Kamui on me now? That way we'll be safe from the blast." Sasuke questions, looking back at the tailed beast bomb in slight trepidation. Naruto snickers. "Because, Sasuke, where do you think I'm gonna send that tailed beast bomb?" Sasuke starts in realization. You're going to use Kakashi's long-range Kamui on it. Yep. Naruto beams. And then, the tailed beast bomb suddenly twists and vanishes. Great, now let's get back there. Sasuke demands. Naruto nods, and then immediately his clone pops. Sasuke looks around for 1 second, then begins to fall, screaming. Sage damn it. Naruto. I hate you. He clenches his hands together. Hopefully I have enough chakra for this. He weaves the hand seals, summoning jutsu. A large cloud appears beneath him, it's a giant snake. Upon seeing it, Sasuke yells. Aoda. Swallow me, then reverse summon yourself. Aoda looks around, and immediately swallows Sasuke, then vanishes in a cloud of smoke. Back with the original Naruto. Naruto looked up as his clone engaged Kaguya. He sat down on the ground, and crossed his legs. He settles into his spot, and begins to take in nature energy, as much as he can. In a mere 5 seconds, Kaguya has destroyed his clone, and starts throwing weird gray sticks at him. Naruto, in his infinite wisdom, decides that the spikes are probably dangerous, and dodges them all. The ones he can't dodge, he blocks with his Truth-Seeker orbs. Naruto howls, and in a burst of light, flashes up beside Kaguya faster than she can see. With a swing of his arm, she loses her own in a slash of wind chakra. Speeding away, he watches as she begins to try and heal herself. Well, here goes nothing. He grumbles, closing his right eye. Spreading his left eye wide, he rushes his chakra to it, activating the Sharingan, and then the Manjikyu Sharingan, before focusing on the tailed beast bomb. Kamui. He roars, glaring into the very center of the tailed beast bomb as it twists and vanishes. Feeling awfully proud of himself, Naruto glances towards Kaguya, who's gaping at where her massive attack used to be. He begins to laugh gregariously, pointing at her while shaking his head. How do you like that, Super Gramps Sage's granny? He yells across the valley they've created. What you gonna do now, huh? Kaguya slowly turns and glares at him. You, insufferable little brat. Azura, you will die here. You can keep your chakra, I am going to end you. Naruto's eyes widen as she vanishes, appearing right above him. He braces his arms for her strike, but it goes right through him. He lowers his arms, and Kaguya floats up to his level, looking at him quizzically. What was that? She questions, confused. Mother purrs Black Zetsu, that was the Kamui, a jutsu that transports parts of your body to another time-space when objects would come into contact with it. You'll need to attack him for 6 minutes. Straight, that's how long he can remain intangible for. Naruto frowns. He was not aware that Obito's Kamui had a time limit weakness, but then again, Itachi had said every jutsu has a weakness. Looks like he just learned the weakness of the Kamui the easy way, rather than the hard way, which meant he could account for it. Suddenly, he had an idea. With a grin, he flew into Kaguya's face, and went straight through her, before turning and kicking her into the ground. Then, he floated above her, manipulating his Truth-Seeker orbs into javelins which he fired at her like ballista bolts. With a growl, Kaguya batted them away, before flying up at Naruto. With her hand coated in swirling chakra, she punched at his head, only for her fist to fly right through it. However, resting right behind his head was a Truth-Seeker orb. Kaguya's eyes widen in horror as her ARM is slowly sliding into the black sphere, disintegrating as it goes. She stops moving as fast as she can, when suddenly a fist slams into her face. Naruto, a vengeful scowl on his face, swings a Truth-Seeker staff, slicing off her other arm. Kaguya moans in pain, and glares at Naruto. Azura, you are mine. She sails up into the sky, and flares her chakra, sending a hurricane of wind through the air. Naruto, glaring up at Kaguya, holds out his hand, and creates a Rasengan. Swinging his arm, the Rasengan suddenly expands, with the edge of it smashing into Kaguya. However, as the dust clears, Naruto sees that no harm has been done. Kaguya has absorbed his chakra, healing one of her arms with it. Naruto scowls, and just before he lifts off the engage her again, hears a voice in his head. Naru, Saiken has idea. Naruto slows down, and listens to the rest of Saiken's odd way of speaking. Naru, use Saiken's acid permeation jutsus, one that big brother Utakata used. It should act as chakra cloud that mean Uchiha said to use. Naruto smiles happily, and starts to channel Saiken's chakra into his belly, before expelling a torrent of bubbles. Sage art, water style, acid permeation. Kaguya was speechless. The entire battlefield was now covered in spheres of chakra, making it nearly impossible to see through the sky. With a growl, she pushed out a massive blue chakra arm to push away the bubbles. With a shriek of pain, she saw the bubbles literally eating into her chakra arms, melting them similarly to the Truth-Seeker orbs. Withdrawing her chakra arms, she creates a torrent of wind, blowing all the bubbles away. Naruto grimaces. This fight has been going on for long enough. Gotta go all out now, everyone's far enough away. He quickly uses the Kamui, reappearing behind Kaguya, who spins and stabs at his head. With her all-killing ash bone, it flies right through his head. With a grin, Naruto grabs her wrist. Got you. He quickly sucks her into his Kamui dimension, before following her in. When he touches down, he quickly flies into the air, dodging the attack he sensed from Kaguya. Gotta love Sage Mode, he thinks. You cannot defeat me, Azura. You are not even close to Hagoromo, and even he needed Hamura to defeat me. Alone, you are nothing. Kaguya pontificates loudly. Lady, don't you get it? I'm not alone. This whole dimension was given to me by Obito. My friends believe in me, and my master entrusted to me his dream. Naruto yells up at her. Kaguya laughs. Foolish little Azura. All those friends you prattle on about cannot help you here. Ah, shut up, I don't care what you think. I'm not Azura, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and this will be where you die. With that, Naruto looks to the sky, with Kaguya slowly turning to look as well. The sky is virtually non-existent, all that's there is darkness. But it's getting closer. Kaguya's eyes widen. Is that the tailed beast bomb? Naruto smirks. No matter what happens, we'll both die here. You will never plague the world again. With a scream, Kaguya turns and fires an all-killing ash bone at Naruto, who with the aid of the Sharingan and Sage Arts, sidesteps and grabs it in the center of the shaft. He leaps, and with a quick body flicker aided by the Sharingan and Sage Arts, appears in front of Kaguya, and stabs her in the shoulder. He grins, but is blindsided by a colossal fist of blue chakra which smashes into him, sending him crashing down between the floating cubes in the Kamui dimension. He groans, trying to get his bearings as he tumbles down between the massive cubes. Naruto, roars Kurama, fly up now. The space down below is outside of structured time-space. It's the void between worlds. If you fall in there, there's no telling where or when you'll come out. With a gulp, Naruto flings out his chakra arms, grabbing onto the cubes beside him, and stopping his descent, before flying up. Suddenly, the gap above him is filled with the brightest light he's ever seen. His vision is filled by the white light, and he's blasted by an immense shockwave. The tailed beast bomb, which contained more chakra than any attack in the history of chakra, has exploded, the shockwave blasting him with more force than even Nagato's planetary devastation could exert. Naruto loses his grip, and with a curse, is sent flying into unstable spacetime. Chapter 2, An Unexpected Meeting. Naruto was confused. When Kurama had said, the void, he was expecting something a little more empty. Instead, there was stuff everywhere, bits of houses, trees, and some weird stuff he couldn't identify. Kurama, I know that we're outside of, structured space, brat, and yes, we're in a space that is not space, floating for time that's not time. We could emerge at any second, on both sides. Both sides, Kurama? You mean that we could leave here in a second, or a year, and emerge from here either a second or a year from when we fell, regardless of when we leave? Yes, brat. And when that happens, the injuries you sustained in your fight are going to hurt like a bitch. Kurama growled, seemingly pleased with this fact. What do you mean? I don't feel injured. Naruto looks down at himself, and immediately regrets it. Naruto, if I were you I'd close your eyes. Gyuki recommends. But it's too late, Naruto has the unpleasant experience of seeing himself when space is unstructured. Simply, his body looks like it's kilometers long, with some parts contorted in ways that are simply unnatural, to the point where he can't tell if it's because of his injuries or because of the way space is messed up. He screams. "Aw! Guys! My body! It's all weird and gross." Naruto watches as he tries to make a fist, only for his fingers to clench outwards, away from his palm. He screams again, and closes his eyes. Unfortunately, this resulted in him horrifically seeing his eyelids as though they were meters away from his eyes, with all the fluids and tears sliding within the space between his eyes and their lids. He screamed again, and opening his eyes, look up at the floating waste in the void, which, while similarly twisted and wrong, is much less revolting to look at than your own body. Naruto was just grateful that Obito's Sharingan was deactivated when he saw his mangled body. Seriously, Gyuki? Why did you tell him to close his eyes? Chome reproves. I'm sorry, I didn't think that even his eyelids would be so disjointed from him. Gyuki apologizes. Naruto continues to stare up at the twisting debris, avoiding his body as best he can. Naruto, come into your mindscape, that way you won't need to endure the fluidness of unstructured space. Matatabi purrs. Naruto, upon hearing this, immediately agrees. Yeah, good idea. Concentrating, he reappears in his mindscape. Looking around, he's surprised by the change. Where once his mindscape was gloomy and damp, now it's a large field, with trees on the edge. Sitting around a small lake in the center of the meadow are the tailed beasts, notably not arranged in numerical order. Rather, they appear to be sitting with the others most closely related to their own elemental affinities, or the ones who would be the least likely to argue and pick a fight with them. Isabu sat with Saiken and Kokuo, Matatabi with Kurama and Son Goku. Gyuki was sitting next to Shikaku. And Chome. All of them turned to see Naruto, who was taking in the sight. Why, is my mindscape so different? What's going on? Gyuki snorts. You can blame Kurama for that. In what I think is the greatest example of self-pity, of all time, he influenced his prison around him to make it more dismal and horrible. Naruto turns to look at Kurama, a questioning look on his face. Looking down, Kurama sighs. I thought you would be more amenable to freeing me if you thought I was constantly being tortured by boredom and despair. He looks up at Naruto's affronted face. Hey, don't blame me, brat. This prison was equally despicable, no matter how it looked. Naruto looks down and sighs, before looking back at Kurama. I know, and I'm sorry you had to go through it all. Once we leave the void, you can leave if you want. You all can. The tailed beasts, while not shocked, are pleasantly surprised. They all glance among each other, before coming to the silent agreement that Kurama would answer, as Naruto's first partner. Naruto, I think I speak for all of my brothers and sister that we won't leave you when you leave unstructured space. Where else would we be welcome? While you may have changed the shinobi of your time, and that's a big maybe since the war was against the 10 tails, a tailed beast, we have no guarantee that we'll emerge at the right place or the right time, where or when tailed beasts are not hunted and sealed. Chances are we'll emerge before the war, centuries after the war, or even in another dimension where there has been no war. Naruto frowns, and looks out at the forest, thinking to himself. Then. I've failed? I didn't bring peace, and I've left Sasuke alone to deactivate the infinite Tsukuyomi. Will he be able to? I mean, your guys. Chakra should have dissipated around the area, so he should be able to deactivate it. Right? The tailed beasts look almost amused by his thoughts. Naruto, says Son Goku, didn't you feel it? Naruto frowns, and looks up at Son Goku. Feel what? Naruto asks, confusion mixed with fear in his voice. Kurama interrupts, rising from his belly onto his haunches. Brat, that last attack you did destroyed Kaguya. Utterly obliterated her. And it wasn't the tailed beast bomb, although that did a number on her. It was her gray rod thing. While she was hit by the tailed beast bomb, that rod completely disintegrated her, down to a molecular level. And when that happened, all our chakra came back to the nearest concentration of it, us. Naruto is suddenly white with fear. Then Sasuke has no way to deactivate the infinite Tsukuyomi. Crap, we need to get back. He starts to run around, talking to himself, and mumbling ways to get back. We could use the Kamui again, or the flying Raijin. I'm sure with enough time, I could learn it, or maybe the summoning jutsu, the toads could reverse summon me, oh. He groans, trying to think of a way home. Suddenly, Kurama barks at him. Naruto, heal. Naruto freezes, and turns to look at Kurama sheepishly. Foolish brat. Remember, the Uchiha doesn't need our chakra, the divine tree, while cut down, still has a stump. He could absorb some of our chakra from there, and even if he's too stupid to do that, which I doubt, the other Uchiha stole some of Madara's 6 paths power, which contains a smidgen of our own power. He could be your substitute in undoing the infinite dream. Naruto lets out a relieved sigh, and sits down next to the lake. However, Naruto looks up again at Kurama. Since you didn't notice our chakra returning to us, that means that you also wouldn't have noticed. Kurama trails off, and looks to his siblings in concern. Naruto, worried, asks what's going on. Guys? What didn't I notice? I felt a weird, pulling feeling in my stomach, and my hand felt like it was burning, but other than that I felt fine. I thought it was the light mark reacting to Kaguya's death. The tailed beasts are surprised by Naruto's insight into how the light mark worked, and that he'd surmised that the mark would leave once Kaguya was defeated. However, Naruto, the mark wouldn't disappear if Kaguya was dead. That mark would have been expended when you sealed her, which you didn't. Something else happened to your hand. At that, Naruto raised his hand. Nestled in his palm was the light mark, however, in its center rested a small black diamond. He raises an eyebrow, curious. Lifting his palm up to the light, he asks what it is. I'm not sure. I've not seen its like before. Have any of you? Kurama responds and questions. All of his siblings respond in the negative, however. Although, Shikaku does have a thought. It looks like a cursed seal, and feels like one too. You may be housing more than just us now, Naruto. He says in his snarky voice. Naruto, upon hearing that, frowns. Then shouldn't whatever's in it be in here as well? The tailed beasts tense, and look around. They don't see anything. Kurama breaks the silence. I don't know, I think we would have sensed whatever is sealed within that mark, but I can't be sure. We should keep an eye open, maybe. Whatever's sealed within will make contact. That was my approach after all. Once more, Naruto frowns. Too bad it's on my sun mark. I could have cut off my hand, then regrown it with the creation of all things jutsu. He comments, drawing frowns from all the tailed beasts. Naruto cautions Isabu, I wouldn't mutilate yourself just to remove a seal. If it came from Kaguya as some last curse, then I doubt that you could just remove it. It's probably tied to your soul. The rest of the tailed beasts agree with Isabu, although some agree simply because they don't wish to see Naruto hurt himself. Naruto sighs, and sits down. Well, I don't know if this'll work, but I need a nap, so I'm gonna sleep here. Maybe I'll really sleep. At that, Shikaku perks up, and hurriedly exclaims. Naruto, while I was sealed in Gaara I took note of the ways he would release me, in fact I was the one who taught him most of his ninjutsu. Naruto glares up at Shikaku. Why would I care about that now, Shikaku? I just want to sleep, not train. He grumbles, rolling over on his side. Shikaku snickers, and raises himself up. I'll have you know that I know many jutsu. I'm the great Shikaku. But the one I'll teach you know is the great sleeping possum jutsu. It forces you to sleep, like a self-inflicted genjutsu. Naruto props himself up, and looks at Shikaku. Fine. Since I can't sleep anyways, how do I do it? Shikaku looks elated, and starts explaining the intricacies of the jutsu. Like a mad scientist, he reveals subtle genius hidden beneath a veneer of madness. His siblings are dumbstruck. Was Shu always so clever? Questions Son Goku. I'm not sure, it's possible, I guess, but he's hidden it remarkably well for millennia. Kokuo responds, similarly astounded at the depth Shikaku had gone in the design of the jutsu. It covered everything, from the sleep timer to set for when you wanted to wake up, even to an attached sensory jutsu to wake you if someone came within a certain distance of your sleeping body. He also had other fail-safes, things to prevent dreaming, a certain level of control over how much you'd toss and turn, and even a snoring mechanism. Shikaku explained why he put all these details into the jutsu. Well, I couldn't have Gaara snoring on my forehead, or moving around, or sending me dreams through our shared connection, and I taught him the version where he would wake up 48 hours after going to sleep to allow me perfect control. It wasn't the masterwork of the jutsu that stilled Kurama, although he was astounded. It was the fact that Naruto understood the explanation entirely, even the complex genjutsu portions that silenced him. Maybe it was just the way Shikaku was explaining it, but he had a feeling something else was going on. Naruto was fully comprehending the complex explanation, and he wanted to know why. Naruto, what would happen if you poured too much wine chakra into a water barrier jutsu? He asks, wanting to start small. Naruto looks up at Kurama, confused. The wind chakra would either make the water barrier jutsu swirl uncontrollably, unless, since it's a barrier jutsu, not a ninjutsu, the water would be uniformly distributed and would be immovable, unlike the wall of water jutsu. Therefore, the wind chakra would freeze the water barrier and create ice? Naruto ends, trailing off. How did I know that? Kurama puffs up with pride. Brat, you appear to have inherited the sage's inherent knowledge of jutsu. It must have awakened, or come with, your six paths power. Naruto beams, elated. So, I can understand jutsu better now? Kurama nods, before explaining further. The old man was remarkable. He was able to perfectly understand not only jutsu, but chakra itself. After undergoing even further sage training, he also came to understand the nature of the universe. He grew wiser, and with his abilities to passively absorb chakra with the Rinnegan, he eventually began to spend all his time in his enlightened sage mode. He was calm, patient, and above all else, kind. Naruto grew calm and happy hearing this, and eager. Would it be possible for me to learn this enlightened sage mode? He asks hopefully. Kurama considers, and right before he can respond he's interrupted by Chome. Naruto, father spent many years learning his enlightened sage power, but he didn't have the advantage you have, ninjutsu. Naruto smiles, and quickly picks up where Chome left off. Yeah. I can use shadow clones, and exponentially increase the rate of my training, that way I can learn enlightened sage mode in days. At that comment, Kurama rises up and roars at Naruto. No. You are not going to do it that way. All the other tailed beasts, and Naruto, look at Kurama, confused as to why he's so hostile about it. Kurama, why not? It'll make it go by faster and dash. Kurama interrupts Naruto with a glare, before continuing. The old man used to say that the destination was not as important as the journey, and what you learned along the way was what truly changed you. If you try and do this training the easy way, and skip out on all the hardship, then the training will have meant nothing. As he explains, the rest of the tailed beasts begin to understand what he means, and agree. You cannot become enlightened in a couple days. It took the sage years because it wasn't something you can do in one place. He had to wander, and learn about the world, meditate, and thereafter. He learned about the world, and its people. Gyuki agrees, before sending a knowing look at Kurama. Alright then. What better place to try and become enlightened about the world than a place without the world? Naruto declares, drawing proud looks from the assembled beasts. Good. While you meditate outside your mindscape, you can have clones within your mindscape learn from each of us about our various skills and abilities, as well as the jutsu we observed our Jinchuriki use over the decades. Hell, some of us might just have interesting history lessons we can impart to you that will help with your sage training. Kokuo declares, rising up with the rest of his siblings. Naruto sends them all a brave smile, before yawning hugely. But before that, sleep, squeals Shikaku, excited to pass on abilities that he's been saving for eons to the inheritor of his father. Naruto, upon seeing the excitement that the rest of the tailed beasts are in, smiles and pumps his fist. Right, he yells, before flying through the hand signs, and promptly falling over before disappearing. Where'd Naru go? Asks Saiken, who was still a little befuddled by the whole thing. He was a simple creature, who wanted nothing more than to live. All this talk about advanced combat simply didn't interest him all that much. Gyuki was the one who answered him. When a Jinchuriki sleeps they don't appear in their mindscape. Which I learned was a good thing. 8 blissful hours of silence from bees incessant rapping was the only thing that kept me sane each day. His siblings laugh at his small joke, before hearing a thump. Kurama has rolled over, falling asleep himself. All the other tailed beasts smile, before leaving to sleep in their natural habitats, Saiken in a small cave filled with dampness, Matatabi in the bamboo woods. Near the forest, Kokuo in the fields next to the pond, Son Goku in a small vale modeled after Suirendo, Isabu in the lake, Shikaku in the beach near the lake, Gyuki in a rocky crag by the forest, and Chome lies in the forest itself. They all settle in nicely and drift off, with none of them noticing the pond begin to glow with an eerie white color. Naruto dreams. Naruto was pretty sure he was dreaming. After all, he hadn't specified that he wouldn't when using the sleeping possum jutsu, and it would explain why he was floating in an orange fog with bits of gray debris around him. It was possible he was back in unstable spacetime, but his body wasn't contorted in strange ways. He looked around a bit, before hearing a voice. You little child. How could someone like you best me? I was divine, I was a god. Naruto slowly turned, and floating before him was a battered and bruised Kaguya, and she did not look happy. Gah! Rabbit bitch, he shrieked, before thrusting his hand forwards, willing a wind-style Rasengan into existence. Only, it didn't appear, and all he did was touch her face. He waited a few seconds before pulling back his palm. What the hell did you do? With a quick second of sensing, he realized that he didn't have his chakra, and neither did she. Or my sensing is blocked. He thinks, before Kaguya interrupts his thoughts. Little storm, this is deep within your mind, in the realm of dreams. I've been waiting for you here. After you dropped into timeless space, the only place for me to wait was here, where I knew you'd come. So you're back for more, eh? Well, even without my chakra I'll fight you. Naruto cries, as he rears his fist back. He casts his arm forwards, but Kaguya simply drifts behind him. Azura, no, Naruto Uzumaki, you have defeated me. You also took away the reason for my existence, they will no longer come. Naruto is understandably confused by this. What do you mean? Who won't come, he asks. Kaguya responds haughtily, members of the Otsutsuki clan have the mission to hunt down and recover the fruits of the divine trees. Once I consumed it to bring peace to the world, I thereafter needed to protect that world from the clan, who would send the hunter 3, Kinshiki, Momoshiki and Urashiki Otsutsuki. However, by removing the chakra of the divine tree from the planet, you've completely removed any chance of them detecting it. Naruto looks at her, once more not completely understanding something she said. I have one question, and you better answer truthfully. He barks. Why did you consume the fruit instead of going home? Why did you risk the fury of your clan? Kaguya smiles benevolently, crossing her arms in front of her in a priestly manner. I sought to bring peace to the world I visited. I wanted to help all who lived there, and bring an age of bliss to them all. Unfortunately, the clan would try to defeat me, and to ensure my complete failure, would have destroyed the world. Naruto was flummoxed, and couldn't tell if Kaguya was telling the truth. On one hand, he wanted to believe her. The only problem was, you probably don't know this, but I have the ability to sense negativity. Naruto says, looking at Kaguya carefully as she blanches. And you positively ooze it. I don't know if you're telling the truth, if when you started this crusade, you did have positive intentions. But that doesn't change that right now, all I sense from you is hatred and fury. There's not even any regret about what you've done. Kaguya is furious, and drops her mask of love and caring, becoming cold and ruthless, just as she was in their battle. Very well then, Azura. However, know this, I have sealed myself within you. When the time comes that you are weakened and feeble, I shall take over, and then you will die. She proclaims, widening her arms and raising them high. Those who defeat gods cannot remain mere mortals. I curse you, reincarnate of Azura, I curse you to lose that which flocks those to you, I banish away your goodwill, your love, and your forgiveness. She roars as her robes flap in an invisible wind. Naruto glares, and despite his lack of power, stands firm. I don't care what you say, curse, or otherwise. I've broken this curse before, and I'll do it again. Kaguya frowns at his proclamation, lowering her arms. What do you mean, child of Hagoromo? You have been cursed in this way before now? The entire shinobi world is a world governed by hatred. Those are the words of my master, my sibling student, the man who gave me his eyes, and the words spoken by Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju, the founders of the Leaf. The pervy sage and Nagato entrusted to me to break that curse. And I've done my very best to do so. I believe that with my fall, the loss of the tailed beasts, and the defeat of the curse of hatred, that the shinobi world will now no longer be ruled, it will be. He trails off, unsure how to continue, but his conviction echoing in the void. Kaguya was floored by his firm, unyielding conviction. Naruto didn't care if he was cursed, he didn't believe in destiny. No curse would bind him, he'd make his own path. Very well then, Naruto. Kaguya speaks, her voice subdued, and broken. Maybe, just maybe, my path was the wrong one. Hashirama. Naruto starts as her voice suddenly becomes more masculine, and her hair turns raven black. Her body begins to split, until standing before him is Madara, clad in his black shinobi pants. His eyes are a charcoal black, and he no longer has Hashirama's face on his chest. He looks towards Naruto, and smiles. Maybe, you and Hashirama were right. Maybe it is time for shinobi like me to leave the world in peace. Farewell, young shinobi. Wherever you go, don't make the mistake of the sage. Don't gift a power that can be used for evil. His body turns a bright and noble blue, before he bursts into 1,000 particles, dissipating in the void. Don't make the shinobi the villains of your new home. His voice whispers out, before the chakra particles fade entirely. Naruto looks awed at the sight, bowing before the chakra. I won't let you down, Madara Uchiha. Despite what you did, it was your actions which united the shinobi world. Without you, it may have taken centuries to unite the shinobi world. You truly were deserving the title, Savior of this world. May you rest in peace. Kaguya looked on, completely and utterly baffled. But I cursed you, why did you forgive him? Black Zetsu left me some of his memories before he fell. That man was a monster who killed thousands, she snaps, exasperated by Naruto's continued good nature. You are right, responds Naruto stoically. But how many millions or billions would have fallen if he hadn't prompted the war? He stopped what could have been known as the era of warring villages. He saw its beginning, and ended it before 2 centuries had passed. The great ninja wars are a black mark on history, they were bloodier than even the warring clans era, and Madara ensured that this chapter of history came to an end. While I hate his method, there's no denying that he was doing what he thought was best, and it did work to unite the world. Naruto turns to Kaguya, facing her down. He may not have accomplished what he set out to do, he may not have had the greatest plan, but he still died a shinobi. And every shinobi deserves respect for the pain they endure. He turns to Kaguya. And that is why you will not defeat me. Even if I must hold you back for an eternity, you will never again walk my or any other world, he declares, standing firm, like the immovable object before the unstoppable force. He watches as Kaguya struggles, before sighing. You will fall, Azura. It's only a matter of time. And then I will be in control. She whispers, before waving her hand as the void fades to blackness. Naruto slowly woke in his mindscape, and looked around. He could see the tailed beasts still sleeping around his new mindscape. Honestly, he was bored. He looked around, and decided to do a little tree hopping to calm himself. It had always worked around the hidden leaf. With that thought, he went running over to the trees, and started hopping from branch to branch. He continued for a couple hours before he eventually tripped in the bamboo forest. Hey, give me a break, I'm not used to bamboo, and with a cry, fell onto Matatabi. She awoke with a yowl, and batted him away with her paw, sending him flying through the air. He spun midair, and with a twist of his hand, blasted behind himself with wind chakra, sending a burst of wind to slow himself. He slowed, and landed on the lake, creating a line on white foam behind him as he slid across the water before grinding to a halt. He breathed deeply, groaning as he rubbed his arm. He'd barely managed to block the two tails' attack. She'd really hit him, arm-paw burning him as well as nearly breaking his arm. He sat down with a groan as Matatabi ran from the woods towards him, concern evident on her face. Naruto. Are you all right? She cried across the field, waking most of the tailed beasts as well. Naruto walked over to the side of the beach, and plopped into the sand. He tried to catch his breath as he lay in the sand, before he felt some slight movement. He looked down and saw the sand moving into a couch shape, thanks to the efforts of Shikaku. "I'm fine, wow, you're strong, Wiyu." He wheezes out. "What did you do, Naruto?" growls Kurama, irritated at being awoken. "Just, tripped and fell on Matatabi when she was sleeping, big mistake." "Well, you did land on one of my tails. It hurt." Matatabi purrs out indignantly at Kurama's glare. Shikaku squeals, "Naru, Naru. Now that you're awake, and I'm awake, we can start your training. I'm gonna make you even greater than Gaara was. You'll be the terror of the desert. The monster on the dunes." The dash, Kurama interrupts him brusquely. "Naruto, I can feel your apprehension. What happened while we were sleeping?" he grumbles, crossing his arms in front of himself as he lies down. "Well, I found out what this diamond mark is." Naruto begins, sitting up and crossing his legs. He then explains, quite eloquently, what passed between him and Kaguya. However, when he reaches the point at which Madara resurfaced, the tailed beasts are split in the middle. Kurama, along with Son Goku, Shikaku, Gyuki and Matatabi, thought that Naruto was mistaken in how he believed Madara was a good person, and deserved respect. The others were not tainted by personal beliefs, or were prone to violence, and thought that Naruto was living up to the standards set by the sage. Either way, they all agreed with how he responded to Kaguya. "Naruto, she might try to take over your body at any time. We need to be constantly prepared for it, much like when I was sealed within you." Kurama explains just as Shwakaku interrupts him. "Wait, you dumb fox. There's something you've forgotten," he cheers in jubilation. "What is it, you stupid raccoon?" Kurama roars, furious that his superiority is being questioned in any way. "Since our chakra returned to us with her death, Kaguya is nearly nothing now. Even Naruto has more chakra than her. With all of us supporting him, he'll never need to worry." Shikaku snickers. "A bluff then?" Son Goku muses, rubbing his hands together. "Didn't think the rabbit had it in her. If so, then we could probably kill her, or take her power and strip her of chakra using the power of the sage." Naruto was confused by this. What power of the sage? It seems like he had so many powers. He groans the last part, fed up with the constant scaling up that the sage had. He was like an impossible mountain to climb, a challenge that was unbeatable. The sage's power to give chakra also gave him the power to take it away. Shikaku explains, brooding over the possibilities of seizing Kaguya's power. "But I don't think we need to do that. Let's just find a way to undo the seal, then kill her. That way we don't risk anything. Who knows what other jutsu she has tucked away." The rest of the tailed beasts agree with Shikaku's reasoning, and decide it would be best to wait until they have a way to remove the curse mark from Naruto to deal with Kaguya. "So," Kurama cheerfully exclaims, "time to whip you into shape. You might be alright for a Jinchuriki, but you aren't even close to the level I expect from you to be the inheritor of the sage." Kurama smiles beatifically, looking down on Naruto's eager face. "Yeah." Naruto cries, fully hyped up. "I'm pumped up and ready to go." He pumps his fist, which swirls with orange and gold chakra. "Now, make 10 clones for each of us. You should then begin your sage training on your own outside of your mindscape. Honestly, with enlightened sage mode you'd be able to take on Kaguya in her weakened state if you were the same as you were 3 years ago, so she won't be a problem if you master it now." Kurama roars in anticipation, his tails swirling faster than they've ever swirled before in anticipation. Naruto nods, and cries out the name of his signature jutsu. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, and with his cry, a burst of smoke fills the field around him, with 100 clones springing into existence. Naruto wilts under Kurama's glare. "Alright, those 10 extra clones are working on chakra control, Naruto, he groans, embarrassed that his Jinchuriki couldn't perform the jutsu he was most well known for perfectly. Naruto grins and rubs the back of his head sheepishly before fading away to meditate in timeless space. Chapter 3, The Drop Out of Eternity. A second, a minute, a year, a decade. Maybe even a century, Naruto was bored. He'd learned under the tailed beasts for an immeasurable amount of time. In timeless space, he learned, you don't age at all, nothing changed. He had no way of measuring time because he never got hungry, never got tired, and never had to go to the bathroom. The space around him was constantly contorting and twisting itself, and was nearly unrecognizable from one second to the next. The only place where time passed was in his mindscape, but it didn't perfectly fit into how much time passed on the outside. So yeah. Naruto was bored. He'd gotten as far as he felt was possible in his sage training, and had learned almost every jutsu the tailed beasts had to offer. He'd learned more about Ninshu, the history of the world, chakra, and even more about time-spaces. Bluntly, he'd begun to actively look for a way out of timeless space, since he'd concluded that even if he waited for something to happen, the void was too vast for him to wait for a way out. And so he developed his second original jutsu himself. He called it the chakra location jutsu. By expelling his chakra around him, he could sense everything that happened within it, much like Nagato's rain jutsu. He'd been spreading his chakra like a giant cloud, slowly enveloping unstructured space-time. There was only one problem: at some spots his chakra would shrink down to the size of a shuriken, at others it would expand outwards to the size of a continent. But it did this randomly, so his net was not as efficient as he'd hoped. He was currently attempting to find a way to control how space fluctuated. What do you think, Gyuki? Naruto asks of the 8 tails. Well, I guess it could work. I'm just worried the strain will damage your memory. Gyuki responds, worried. Kurama scoffs. Please. The brat is more than capable of taking this on. He can spread clones all over the void, and then they can find a way out. Kurama says, glad to finally have a way out. But, shouldn't I use other clones? Ones that don't send their memories back to me? That way I won't need to. Naruto trails off, still unsure why there were problems about using clones. While it would be extremely discomforting, it wouldn't be more so than being killed, which almost all of his clones had experienced at one point or another. With a sigh, Naruto acquiesces. Very well then. He closes his eyes, and enters sage mode. Now, however, it was closer to Hashirama's, with much more coloration over his face that resembled the sage markings that Hashirama himself bore. It was a more powerful version, but still not enlightened. He crosses his fingers. Multi-shadow sage clone jutsu, he thinks to himself as over 1,000 clones pop into existence in the void. They all begin to fly about, each of them activating their Sharingans. And now, we search, vocalizes the original Naruto as he zips away like a golden flame. Right, echoes throughout timeless space as all the clones follow his example, blasting away in a supernova of golden flames. Naruto, once more, wasn't sure how much time had passed. He'd been flying, and flying, and flying, but since time and space were messed up, he couldn't tell how far or how long he'd been searching for. But, suddenly, his mind was filled with images of a great green light, stuck within a perfect sphere, something he hadn't seen yet in unstructured space. Something was holding it together, and his clone had popped after seeing it. With a grin, he flies in the general direction, he thinks, that his clone went. After immeasurable time, he saw it. A great sphere of something, translucent and white, with a green light within. He smiles grimly, and flies straight towards it, his clothes burning off his arms as they plunge into the sphere. With a roar, his eyes spin into the Manjikyu, ripping a hole in the sphere with the Kamui. He flies through the rapidly closing hole, and the light fills his vision, then, he's gone. Naruto groaned as he lay on the ground, incredibly tired. He looked about himself. He had awoken in a small glade in a forest, not dissimilar to the ones he'd grown up in around the leaf. He smiled as the sun lit up his face, warming him in a way he had almost forgotten. Naruto, you did it. We're free, howled Shikaku from his mind, celebrating the freedom they'd achieved. The rest of the tailed beasts share Shikaku's joy, and Naruto's head is filled with joyful celebrations, making his smile widen further. Thanks, guys. I couldn't have made it without you, he says, reaching out his chakra while his mind escapes. They tailed beasts feel his gratefulness, and respond in kind. My only regret is that I can no longer return home, Naruto whispered quietly, his eyes filling with tears. Now that he had accomplished his goal, he had nothing covering up his shame and guilt. My friends must all think I'm dead. No, Naruto hears from his head. Naruto, before you left, your clones healed Obito's eyes with the creation of all things technique. You don't remember because the memories were lost in the void as they tried to find your chakra to return to. He could have seen the battle you waged, and he'll know what happened. You are alive, and he'll know. Kurama soothed from Naruto's mind, trying to ease him into accepting what had happened. Really? Naruto sniffled, still mourning the loss of every one of his friends. I still miss them, Kurama, just give me this one moment to mourn. I have no pain to worry over, no students to pass on my learning to. Naruto thinks back to the last time he mourned, after Jiraiya's death. Shikamaru had dragged him up by getting him to believe that one day he'd be called Naruto-sensei. That was no longer possible. He had no responsibilities beyond those to the tailed beasts. Naruto Kurama was interrupted. Kurama, that's enough. Give the boy time to mourn. He deserves at least that. Chomei rebukes, closing himself off from Naruto's mind. All the other tailed beasts follow his example, with Kurama giving one last piece of advice. Naruto, you can be called things that, to you, will mean more than Naruto-sensei. Don't let your grief cloud your bright light. Kurama then fades away from Naruto's mind, leaving him alone with his grief. A couple hours later, at dusk, Naruto began to meditate. He's trying to check the nature energy in this new world, or at least trying to see if he might have returned to his own. Nature, however, was being rather uncooperative. At some point he stopped trying to absorb the nature energy, and went back to the basics. Detecting it at all was difficult. As he sat with his eyes closed, he suddenly heard a hiss. A familiar, dreadful hiss. His eyes opening, he gazes upon a gargantuan snake, with odd bone-like plates over its head, covered in red patterns. Naruto looks into its glowing red eyes, and looks up and down its tar-black body. He sighs. Ah, snakes, no matter what world. There's always snakes. He starts to rise to his feet as the snake coils back, suddenly launching forwards at him like a missile. Naruto flicks up his forearm, catching the side of the snake's head with his unfolded backhand. The might of his strike snaps into the head of the snake, breaking its plating, and killing it instantly. Naruto looks down upon its body as it begins to disappear. Huh. Never seen one of these before. A snake that cleans up after itself, can't say I'll complain about it. He remarks as the snake completely dissipates into a black fog, which also begins to vanish. Naruto looks at its smog, and frowns, activating his Sharingan. From what he can see, the snake was comprised of negative energy, a swirling black miasma. It reminded him of the Zero Tails he fought months ago. He also noted that it didn't appear to have chakra, or rather, it had half. It appeared to be comprised of solely yang chakra, missing its yin half. He shrugs, deactivating his Sharingan. A mystery for another time. Naruto thinks, stretching out his senses. Good, I can sense a village. It's a couple 100 kilometers away, it should take about an hour to get there on foot. With that, he leaps into the trees, dead set on reaching this village and learning all he can about this new world. Naruto, where are you going? He heard Kurama call. I've detected a village nearby, I'll be there in an hour and find out all I can about this world. Naruto replies, not slowing down. Good plan. Just remember that we don't know what this world is like. There could be threats here far beyond us, or we could be at the top of the food chain. Keep your head down, and don't draw attention to us until you've discovered everything you want to know, and then some. Kurama instructs, double-checking that Naruto has a plan. Yeah, no problem Kurama. I'll keep my head under the parapets, as it were. Naruto replies with a smile. Good. Now get to this village, and try not to arrive in a method that's surprising. Actually, observe them before you go in, we don't know if they check things like ID before you enter. The walls. It's better to establish whether you can sneak in before you try, rather than fail and get captured. Kurama decides. Ha. Agreed. Naruto laughs, speeding up. After nearly an hour of dashing through the trees, Naruto can see the city. That is far larger than a village, he thinks to himself. Well, better observe for now, see if I can sneak in. And so he watches. After about 20 minutes, Naruto concludes that they do check ID at the gate. However, the guards don't appear too invested in their jobs, they just let in two people obviously feigning their age, without so much as a second look. It'd be easy to gain access to this city. Slithering down the tree, Naruto waits by the side of the path. Within a couple minutes, he notices a group passing by. With a grin, he slips through the branches, like a shadow. When he's above their group, he closes his eyes, willing his chakra to flow. Transformation jutsu, he thinks to himself, transforming into a small twig, which, since his arms no longer held himself up, allowed him to fall down into their cart, which was being dragged by two of the people in the group. He waited as the group went through the gate, before applying a small amount of wind chakra to push himself off the cart into a nearby alley. With a poof of smoke, he was whole again. Well, that was easy, he thinks to himself, proud of how he snuck into the city. Now, first things first, I need new clothes. He glances down at his battered outfit. His jacket was almost completely destroyed, covered in char marks and rips and tears. It also had a large amount of blood on it, although none of it was his. Niji. He thinks to himself. Resolute. His eyes swirl into the Manjikyu Sharingan, transporting his jacket into the Kamui dimension. He sighs, and starts to think. I should transform so that people don't notice me. I stand out quite a bit, with obvious battle marks and wounds. I also don't have any money, so buying what I need will be difficult. Do you guys have any ideas? He thinks inwards. Well, you could steal what you need, but I get the feeling you won't like that. Gyuki begins, so, I would recommend looking for a homeless shelter. The hidden cloud would give out clothing and food to the needy once per week. This place may do something similar. Naruto approves of this idea, even though his pride is hit a bit by essentially taking from the needy. However, he thinks, I kinda do qualify as needy at the moment. With his conscience clear, he thinks about who he should transform into, before he comes to the best decision possible, a man who was almost invisible when he knew him, Shino Aburame. Honestly, he's almost invisible. Maybe it's because of how quiet he is. Naruto thinks. Anyways, transformation jutsu. Naruto's body is obscured in smoke, and when it clears, Shino stands where he was. Clad in a green overcoat with a large hood, perfect for rainy days. With that done, Naruto starts to explore the city. After many hours of searching, Naruto hadn't found anywhere where he could acquire clothing in a legal way. However, he had discovered a bit about the history of the world, just by reading signs here and there, as well as from simple questions. He'd learned the world's name was Remnant, and, although he had yet to see it due to the cloudy night, the moon was shattered. Initially, he was worried about it, because that could mean that whatever was sealed within probably escaped, but the tailed beasts had reassured him that the shattered moon was probably due to something like a meteorite striking it. The chances of something like Kaguya being sealed in the exact same manner were incredibly slim, but moons were commonplace for most life-supporting worlds, at least, so they assumed. He also had learned about the shinobi equivalent in this world, the huntsmen and huntresses. He heard about the Grimm, which he deduced were the same creatures as the giant snake he killed earlier that evening. Honestly, the world excited him. The level of technology they were displaying was far beyond his own, leading to a sneaking theory. He theorized that the level of personal power someone could attain would limit the level technology would achieve. Since his people had chakra, they'd had no need for most technology these people had. And these people had something called aura, which he was pretty sure was simply the yin aspect of chakra. He was hyped up to learn more, but the fact remained that he still hadn't found any clothes. He was about to give up and just walk into a store asking for clothes, and offering to work for them, when Kurama had a suggestion. Naruto, there's one avenue of thought you haven't gone down. You could use the creation of all things technique to make clothing for yourself. The rest of the tailed beasts were flabbergasted at this ludicrous suggestion. Kurama, Chome began slowly, are you suggesting that we use the most powerful jutsu ever, the jutsu that created us, to do something as mundane as creating clothes? Kurama was a little sheepish. I just don't think that our Jinchuriki should go begging. He's above that. Especially when he can just snap his fingers and create something. He whimpered, his pride hammered by how pitiful begging for clothes would make them look. The rest of the tailed beasts understood, Kurama was a proud creature, that much was certain. He would rather use a grossly overwhelming technique than appear weak and needy. While it had pushed him to unrivaled levels of strength, right now it was merely stopping them from dash. Great! Why didn't you say so before? They all turned their thoughts towards Naruto, flummoxed. Naruto, that technique is very powerful, it's almost sacrilegious to use it so flagrantly. Gyuki rebukes Naruto sternly. Well, it's better than stealing from some poor merchant. And this way I can make my clothes exactly how I want them. Naruto says with a grin, happy that he doesn't need to steal. While he was fine with vandalizing in his early years, that was only done to people who mistreated him and others. He had no intention of making someone's life difficult if they didn't fully deserve it. Alright, here I go, his eyes switched to golden with a cross-shaped iris, sage art, creation of all things jutsu. He watches as his chakra splits from his body, molding itself to his will. His chakra glows with an unearthly light, filling the alley. He closes his eyes, concentrating furiously as he uses the jutsu. With a small cry, he falls backwards, landing in a heap on the ground, clothing falling on top of him. With a grin he whispers out. "Ha! I did it!" As he fades from consciousness. With a groan, Naruto awoke. He was sore, he felt like he'd been run over by a horse. As he grabbed his skull, which was pounding like a drum, he felt something over his arm. Looking down, he saw that it was fabric. Eyes widening, he leapt to his feet, looking at the clothes he'd created. He smiled brightly, looking at his creation. Honestly, he hadn't needed to think much about it. He remembered trying to decide which clothes to create, and found he didn't want to create the ones he had during the war. They'd been gifted to him by Jiraiya, and it felt weird to create a copy of those clothes. They'd seen their time, and he'd always treasure them, but it was time for a change. So he thought about making the Leaf Shinobi outfit, but even then, he felt that he hadn't earned them. He'd never been promoted to Jonin or even Chunin, so it felt disrespectful to wear the clothes without earning them like every other shinobi. Then he thought about the people who most impacted his life. His sage cloak was an option, but once more he thought that it was something he'd earned from the toads. They would give a new cloak if they felt he earned it. Speaking of, he'd better try summoning one of them soon, let them know he was alive. Then, like a stroke of lightning, it hit him. Nagato, Obito, and Itachi. They were the people who he had felt were all truly evil, but they'd all been trying to fulfill the same goal and dream as him. The Akatsuki itself was created to bring about peace. What better emblem to redeem? The leadership of the organization had been redeemed, but it was time for the red cloud to not signify fear, but peace. And that was something he felt that he could wear with pride. With a smile, he raises the Akatsuki cloak above himself, before sliding into it. It felt good. He could see why Nagato had chosen it for the symbol of the Akatsuki. With a grin, he started walking out of the alley, only to nearly lose his footing when a person smashed out of a window right in front of him. With a stumble, he barely caught himself from stepping on them. He stops, watching as a little girl flies out, landing in the middle of the street, not noticing him standing in the alley on the other side of the street. He glances down each side of the street, but there's no one there. Looking back at the girl, who he sees is wearing a red cape, with a piece of red metal in her hand. Naruto's eyes widen as it begins to grow, sliding into a shape he's only heard of. It appears to be a giant scythe, with red highlights along the shaft. He calmly observes as she systematically takes out the grunts in suits, noting how she uses the grossly oversized weapon almost elegantly, using something he'd learned was a gun to move the scythe blade faster than normal. At some point, he ended up making a little groan as he saw her knee some poor soul in the nuts. He whispers a small prayer for the man, before he sees a veritable peacock of a man walk out after his grunts, bedecked in a bright white coat with a bowler hat. Although his hair was pretty awesome. Well, the man says in a snarky tone, Red, I think we can all say this was an eventful evening. But as much as I would like to stick around, he spits out his cigar, grinding it out with his can, before lifting it up to shoulder height. I think this is where we both part ways. Naruto's eyes widen as he sees the tip of the cane flick open, and a small bright orange ball comes flying out at the girl. With a curse, he leaps forwards, kicking the ball out of the way. He lands in a crouch, glaring at the man. The man's eyes widen, before he groans. Of course, there's two of them. Could my luck get any more terrible? He ends shouting, before firing a volley of shots at Naruto and the girl, who's currently gazing at Naruto in awe as he effortlessly bats the balls away with his arms, which seem to be glowing gold. Hey man, Naruto says, yawning as he parries each shot, I know you're really enjoying this, but could you stop? I think you might damage my cloak, and I just made it like 10 minutes ago, he complained, watching as the Joker became more and more furious. Eventually, the man stopped firing. Well, this has been fun, but I'd much rather get away with my life, so he trails off, lifting his case in the air before hurling it at Naruto. End of the line, Blondie. He fires his cane once more, hitting the case in midair, which explodes. Naruto, momentarily stunned, is sent flying into another building, crashing through the wall with a groan. No, yells the girl, turning towards the man, only to see him climbing up a ladder on an adjacent building. Turning towards the old man who owns the dust shop, she asks him, can you check on the boy who just got hit? I'm going after that thief. The old man nods, running over to the building with a large hole where Naruto crashed in. With that assurance, the girl runs after the man. Hey, the man hears, turning to see the girl on the roof. Stop, she demands, turning her scythe upwards, smoke curling from the tip of the shaft. Thought you'd go help your friend, the man remarks. Still, little red, this is where we part ways. At that, the wind picks up as an aircraft hums into the air behind him. The girl takes a step back as the spotlight comes on, pointing right into her face and causing her to squint a bit. The door opens on the side of the aircraft, and the man clambers inside just as a piece of metal bounces off his back. The man turns, and with a growl, sees Naruto on the rooftop just behind the girl. He groans, and filching about in his pockets, notes that he's out of dust. Hey, boss. Might need some help here, he calls into the back as more blades and shots start firing at him. He turns and starts firing at them, just when a figure falls from the sky in front of his flares, blocking them all. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, he yells upon seeing the large purple rune floating in the air. Behind it stands a woman with a white blouse and black riding pants as well as a black cape. In her hand is a riding crop, which is now flicking small purple lights at his ship, causing it to rock most precariously. With a snarl, the man flees to the cockpit. Naruto smiles, thinking they've won, when a new woman walks out, her face wreathed in shadow. Her clothes start to glow, and with a simple hand gesture, fireballs fly out of the ship. With a grin, Naruto matches her, his more battle-excited personality beginning to surface. Water style, water bullets, he shouts, relishing in the battle as large water balls fly from his mouth, striking the fireballs midair, and dousing them completely. He grins, seeing the woman in the ship stumble from the barrage this new woman fired at the ship. His grin fades when he sees an orange glow beneath her feet. Move, he yells, just as the ground explodes beneath the newcomer's feet. He turns, only to see a massive wave of fire spreading towards him, as well as the red girl. With a twist, he flips in front of her, preparing his next jutsu. Water style, wall of water, he cries out, just as a wall made of water emerges from his mouth, blocking the flames. Woo, the girl cries, that's so cool. Naruto turns to tell her to keep her mind on the battle, only to see her loading her gun, scythe, thing. He grunts, and grins. Yeah, I suppose it is. Got a name, Red? He asks, calmly firing small spouts of water from his wall to protect the newcomer. Yeah. My name's Ruby, Ruby Rose. What's your name? She asks, not seeing his face smile. My name's Naruto Uzumaki. A pleasure to meet you, Ruby Rose, he says, watching as lightning flies down from the ship to his wall. With a growl, he pushes back from it, catching Ruby in his arms as he does so. With a small cry, Ruby looks as the wall is covered in tiny arcing lightning bolts. She breathes a sigh of relief, before looking up at the guy who caught her. She instantly blushes, not only because of his face, handsome as it is, but because of the way he's carrying her. He'd slung her over his shoulder, with her head near his chest. He looks down at her, and smiles, his eyes closing. Don't worry, I've got you, he says, before looking up at the ship. With a small burst of chakra, his eyes swirl into the Sharingan, allowing him to get a good look at the face of his opponent. She has glowing amber eyes, bordering on gold, with dark gray hair. Her face might be considered attractive by some, but he can see the hatred twisting her features into a revolting snarl. It also doesn't help that he can feel her malice roiling off of her like the grim he'd faced earlier. He watches as she flies away. Naruto, why didn't you stop her? Kurama roars, annoyed that someone bested his Jinchuriki. Because, Kurama, Naruto responds mentally, I still need to keep my head down. At the moment, all I've revealed are my water-style jutsu. I hope to keep it this way, for as long as I can. Good point. Keep up the good work. Naruto is baffled, and nearly drops Ruby. He settles down on the ground, lowering her to her feet. She blushes, and hits his arm. Don't carry me like that. I'm not a kid. Naruto flushes. Hey, I had a split second to catch you. Naruto retorts. Well, next time just tell me to move. Only when you can move faster than lightning. Well, guess what, Waterboy? I dash. She's cut off by the blonde woman, who walks over to them. I need you both to come with me, she says sternly, frowning at them both. What? Whyyyyyy. Naruto whines, instinctually doing what he did when Tsunade got mad at him. Ruby, on the other hand, squealed. Oh. You're a huntress. She gushed. Can I have your autograph? The huntress glares at Ruby, and says something that causes both teens to pale. You're both coming with me to the police station. Now, follow, she barks, leading them down to the street. Ah, crap, groans Naruto. At the police station. Well, crap. Naruto thinks to himself as he actively ignores the blonde huntress, while his compatriot next to him seems to be barely holding it together. So much for keeping my head down, on the bright side. This lady doesn't have any ill intent towards me, just annoyance. He glances over at Ruby, although, she doesn't seem to realize this. With that in mind, Naruto reaches over and gives her hand a reassuring squeeze, channeling some of his chakra into her to calm her. Ruby's eyes widen slightly at the touch, before suddenly she feels calm, and not stressed at all. She looks over at her new friend, who just gives her a nice smile, just like Kakashi. She smiles back, reassured. The blonde huntress, just noticing that they aren't paying attention, slams her riding crop on the table. Are you ignoring me? She says forcefully, glaring down at them as they wilt in fear. Ah crap, she really does remind me of Granny Tsunade. Naruto thinks, sweat forming on his forehead. Hope she's not as uncontrolled. Ah. She's going to kill me. Ruby screams in her head. Suddenly, the door behind the huntress opens. Now, Glinda, no need to be so forceful. I think this was all just a big misunderstanding. A voice comes from the shadows, slowly materializing into a man with small glasses and gray hair. Naruto looks at him in shock. He looks just like Kakashi-sensei. Now, what were two young teens such as yourselves doing fighting criminals? The man says, smiling as he sits down, placing a plate of cookies on the table before sipping his coffee. Well sir, you see Ruby says, before Naruto interrupts her. I was going to find a place to stay for the night when I saw some guy break out a window. Like the hero I am, I decided he needed to pay for the wanton destruction of the windows he so viciously attacked. Naruto declared, standing proudly at the end with his hair blowing in a small breeze. The gray-haired man smiles and laughs. A hero? It's refreshing to see such innocence in the young, and you, Ruby Rose? What was a young girl like you doing wielding one of the most dangerous weapons ever invented in downtown Vale? He smiles below the rim of his cup. Ma UNC co-, she answers, bits of cookie falling from her mouth. Naruto glances at the cookies, and with a shrug, takes one. His eyes widen. Good thing we didn't have these back home, it would have been hard to stay a shinobi with these around, he thinks before grabbing a couple more. The man with gray hair looks at Ruby dubiously. Could you repeat that? He asks, straining not to smile at the teen's obvious disregard for what he thinks of them. Ruby swallows her cookies. My Uncle Crow taught me. Before he did I was terrible, but now I'm all whoo wham. She proceeds to make various comical combat moves, which makes Naruto snicker. Ruby turns to him. Hey! Don't laugh at me. I'm a great fighter, and someday I'll be a great huntress. The man with gray hair intercedes. So you want to be a huntress? He asks, putting down his coffee. More than anything. Ruby replies, focused on him. Naruto forgotten. And you? The man with gray hair asks Naruto. Naruto thinks about it. From what he can tell just from what he learned over the day, huntsmen occupy the same niche as shinobi except they act more like wandering shinobi, they don't have an allegiance to any specific village. The more he thinks about it, the more dash. Aren't you already a huntsman? Ruby asks him, shock overcoming her features. Naruto shakes his head. No, I've never had a formal education, and never really thought about becoming a huntsman, he replies. Ruby is stunned. But, you're so strong, she cries, those things you made of water, and you're so fast. You're just as fast as my uncle. Naruto smiles, and leans back in his chair, tilting it onto its back legs. Ah, I've just trained a lot outside the city. Fought some grim, learned some moves. He trails off, still not 100% sure what he should say. The man with gray hair leans forward. Do you know who I am? He asks Naruto, curiously. Naruto shakes his head. Haven't the foggiest idea. Ruby stares at him in disbelief again. He's Professor Ojban. He's the headmaster at Beacon Academy, she groans out, completely astonished at the level of ignorance Naruto was displaying. Huh. Never thought I'd meet you. Naruto says, his mind racing a mile a minute. Okay, so on my first day I've fought a giant snake, and have met the equivalent of a Kaguya, so much for keeping my head down. Ojban smiles at them both, before standing up, drawing their attention. Would you like to attend my school? He asks them, smiling brightly. Both Naruto and Ruby are stunned, and Ruby immediately answers. More than anything, she says, eerily calm on the outside. On the inside. Oh my gods. I'm being invited to Beacon. Deep breaths, stay calm Ruby. Naruto thinks for a couple seconds. What would we be expected to do? Beyond huntsman duties, he asks, sending Ojban's face into a pleased look. Good, he's already asking important questions. He's displaying the qualities of a leader before he even knows what it means to be one. Ojban thinks to himself, before answering. You'd be expected to stay on campus in the dorms provided for your team, which is composed of 4 people. You'll stay for a number of years, usually 4, until you pass the final exams. Once you do so, you'll be given your hunter license, which allows you to take on missions to hunt Grim, for which you'd be paid, either privately or by the kingdoms, he finishes, taking a sip of coffee. Naruto thinks further, with Ruby looking at him like he's insane for not accepting on the spot. Honestly, Naruto thinks, it would be really helpful. I'll be paid for something I'd try to do anyways, I'd have something to do, and best of all, somewhere to stay. The only thing is, Naruto looks up at Ojban, are we paid for training missions, or have any source of income while at Beacon? Or do I still need to find a job while going to school? Ojban is floored. Well, normally parents pay for equipment and such. Naruto winces, which Ojban catches, before continuing. However, the school has an allotment of supplies available for each student, sort of like a dust plan for while you attend. Also, we have a very nice cafeteria where we get fresh food every day. He smiles at Naruto, who's looking gobsmacked. Naruto's about to accept, when he has one last question. Does your cafeteria have ramen? He asks slowly. Ojban thinks for a second. Well, we have catering services from Vale, where we get a portion of food in exchange for teaching huntsmen, so we can have it delivered along with the other food if you want it. At that, Naruto's sold. Free ramen, free room and board, and learning about the world? Best first day ever. Naruto rises, bowing to Ojban. In that case I accept, Ojban-sensei. He says, bent at the waist. Ojban is puzzled, but smiles. Not that I don't like the respect, and I think you've just won over Glinda. He glances at Glinda, who's looking at Naruto approvingly. But you don't need to bow to me, or any other teachers. Also, what does sensei mean? He asks, curious. Naruto flushes. Sensei means teacher, and by saying it I'm showing you the respect you deserve as a teacher of the new generation, he answers, raising up his head and looking at Ashbin, who's smiling happily. Well, it's rare we get such courteous students. You'll both be welcome at Beacon, and your scrolls should receive the enrollment form soon. Naruto raises his hand up tentatively. Sensei? I don't have a scroll, I'm afraid mine was damaged some time ago by a Grim, and I have yet to procure a replacement. Ashbin looks at Naruto studiously, before smiling. Don't worry, I'll have one for you when school opens. For the meantime, just arrive at Beacon a week from today, at 8 o'clock sharp. Initiation starts at 9 o'clock the next day, and you'll have all day to familiarize yourself with the rest of the students. Naruto nods, and together with Ruby, leaves the police station and heads down the street. Ruby looks nervous, before shaking her head and tapping Naruto on the shoulder. He turns, looking at her curiously. Yeah, Ruby, he asks. Well, you said you were looking for a place to stay, why don't you come stay at my place until enrollment? That way I'll have at least one friend going to Beacon with me. She trails off, seeing his shocked face. On the other hand, she rushes, if you have other plans, I mean, you don't need to dash. Naruto cuts her off. Sorry, Ruby, it's just that I'm not used to people inviting me over, no one's ever actually invited me to their house before. He trails off, remembering all the lonely days off spent playing cards with his shadow clones. He bows again. I would be honored to accept your invitation. Ruby blushes, hitting his shoulder while looking away from him. Oh, stop it you. I'm just trying to be nice. We all need a place to stay, and maybe we can spar at my place. I saw your sweet water semblance, I can't wait to see more of it. Naruto smiles, before hinting, water isn't all my semblance can do. He tells her conspiratorially. Ruby is stunned. Oh, I can't wait, she cries. Also, what weapons do you use? Is it a water sword? A water whip? What? She ends intensely. Naruto rubs the back of his head sheepishly. I'm afraid my weapons were all destroyed in my fight with the Grim. Ruby is curious, weapons? As in plural? Naruto nods, a bit confused. Well, yeah. I have kunai, which are little knives made of aura channeling metal, they can absorb my semblance, which makes them stronger, and cut through more. I can throw them, and fight hand to hand with them. Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, I prefer my fists to my kunai. Ruby's satisfied. Oh, you're like Young. Naruto turns to her, curious. Well, yeah, I guess, but aren't we all? And how do you know about that? Ruby stops, confused. You know Young? Naruto nods furiously. Yeah, but I didn't know everyone knew about Young Chakra, huh? Young Chakra? What? I'm talking about my sister, Yang Xiaolong. Oh, that would explain it. What do you mean? Yang means physical energy, while Yin means spiritual. When you said I was like Yang, I thought you were talking about my dominant energy type. Ruby nods. Oh. Well, what I meant was that my sister likes using her fists instead of weapons, although she doesn't still have Ember Celica. Naruto smiles. Yeah, I've always found hand-to-hand to be simpler than weapons, and honestly, I've found it works just as well. He laughs loudly. Ruby smiles at him. What is it? Naruto stops slowly, wheezing a bit before answering. Oh, I just realized the answer to what weapon I used should have been simple. He turns, raising his arms. I am the weapon. Ruby laughs uproariously at him as he totters, before lowering his arms and regaining his balance. She trails off, wiping tears from her eyes. Naruto? Yeah, Ruby. I think we're gonna be great friends. Chapter 3, The Start of a Dream. It was at the receiving end of a furious glower that Naruto first met Taeyong Xiaolong, Ruby's father. He supposed it was natural that her father would be suspicious, but he'd been glaring for more than an hour. At first, Naruto thought that it was because he had come over without the patriarch's permission, but after nearly 45 minutes he'd been dissuaded from that line of thought. Naruto had concluded that Mr. Xiaolong didn't like him because he was a boy near his younger daughter. This actually made Naruto respect him more, since it showed how much he cared about his family. However, not everything was sunshine and rainbows at this household. He'd concluded that Ruby's mother was dead, but not by asking, by studiously observing the signs around him. As a kind of icebreaker, Naruto had offered to pay for lodging, to which Taeyong had immediately refused, suddenly not glaring at him at all. No. You don't need to pay us. Ruby invited you over and it would be inhumanely rude to charge you for basic hospitality. Naruto countered this deftly. At least let me help you with chores and things. I lived by myself for nearly 15 years, I'm sure I can help you, either by washing plates or by helping you cook. Taeyong was at a loss. While he immensely wanted to dislike this boy, and chase him away with a poker and a shotgun, he didn't appear to have any designs on Ruby. He truly seemed to just be a new friend that she invited over. So, he finally acquiesced, and allowed Naruto to help him cook. About half an hour into the cooking time, Yang returned home. Ruby spared no second, rushing to the door. Yang! Yang! Guess what? She cried, bursting out the front door as Yang rolled up on her motorbike. Yang dismounts, and turns over to Ruby. What is it, little sis? I was in Vale today looking at dust in the dust shop, and then there was this mean angry guy in a suit, and Ruby's cut off by Yang. Whoa, Rubes, slow down. Let's go inside. Knowing you haven't told Dad yet, right? She asks, smirking knowingly. Ruby flushes. Wheel. She trails off. Yang smiles as she rolls her motorbike into her garage. How about you tell us both over dinner? I can smell it from here, smells different than the normal noodle wok Dad makes. She says, perplexed. Oh, that's 'cause Naruto's making something called ramen for us. Ruby says happily, skipping back inside. Yang freezes outside. There's a guest over? I've never heard of a Naruto before, must be one of Dad's old school buddies, she shrugs, before walking in. Yo Dad, I'm home, she calls, taking off her shoes. She notes an odd pair of sandals on the floor where the shoes go, concluding, accurately, that they belong to Naruto. Come on in, sweetie. We have a guest tonight, his name's Naruto. Yeah, Ruby said he was making something called ramen? Yeah, and while I don't like to admit it, Taeyong comes out of the kitchen, a pleased smile on his face. It smells better than wok, and has more ingredients too. I swear, this guy's a real well of knowledge about this dish. Can't wait to see if he knows as much about other foods. He laughs loudly, taking her coat and throwing it over the banister leading up the stairs before marching down the hall. Yang smiles, a bit confused. I don't get it. Was he not able to cook this before? She asks, following Taeyong. Now it's his turn to be a bit confused. What do you mean? I've only just met the guy, he exclaims. Yang frowns. Then why's he over here? She asks, scratching her head. Taeyong frowns, crossing his arms. Ruby invited him over, he scowls. Yang, on the other hand, lights up. You mean Ruby invited a boy over? She squeals, literally bouncing in place before rushing into the kitchen. Taeyong sighs. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, he says, depressed. Suddenly he perks up, although The kid can cook, so I guess he's off to a good start. But he'll need to do a lot more, he grumbles. Yang rushes into the kitchen, and sees Ruby sitting on the backrest of a stool, watching a tall blonde boy with the spikiest hair she's ever seen chop vegetables, and toss noodles furiously into boiling water. Ruby! I need that chili garlic sauce 5 minutes ago, he cries, with Ruby leaping to attention. Aye, sir, she cries, before blasting around the room with her semblance, grabbing the things he needs as he calls them out, with him then perfectly measuring them before tossing them into the noodle mix, which is still somehow swirling on its own. Man, if I had time I'd make you noodles from scratch, but for now we'll make do with these pre-made packaged ones, he says, turning. Would that be alright, Mr. Xiaolong? Taiyang peeks in. These aren't store-bought, brat. I made these myself. Each one, meticulously handcrafted. Yeah, I know. I called them pre-made, not synthetic abominations. Naruto calls over his shoulder. They'll work fine, but you need special ramen noodles with just the right texture for this dish to be perfect. Naruto stops talking to them, focusing wholeheartedly on his ramen. Ruby leans over to Yang. Yeah, when Professor Ojban offered him a place a beacon, his condition was that ramen would be served there. I really want to know why he demanded it. Yang is confused. Ojban offered him a position at Beacon, and he had demands, she exclaims. Ruby smiles. I'll tell you at dinner. Then, Taiyang tells them to set the table, which they rush off to do while Naruto finishes his divine dish. Once the dish is finished, Naruto calls out. Hey, Mr. Xiaolong. Where do you keep your bowls? Taiyang comes into the room, and grabs 4 bowls from a top shelf before setting them on the kitchen counter. Here kid, knock yourself out. Table's set, just give us the word. Naruto smiles brightly. Consider the word given, Mr. Xiaolong. This'll be done in less than a minute. He then lifts the boiling ramen pot above himself, before expertly pouring an equal amount in each bowl. He picks them all up, and walks out to the table, where Yang and Ruby wait. Here you go, Ichiraku's special, he says happily, plopping their bowls in front of them. He glances at the 3 empty seats, before waiting for Taiyang to sit. It wouldn't be proper for him to sit before his hosts. Especially if he took his host's seat. After Taiyang sits, Naruto takes an empty chair, of which there are 2. He cunningly takes the one that doesn't have MOM stitched into the back of it. He takes the one labeled Uncle Q. It appears to be a bit beaten up, with obviously broken legs, but nothing a shinobi couldn't handle with ease. As they all dig into their meals, Naruto observes that they don't thank for the food. He decides that it must be a cultural difference, not an intentional slight. And of course, he was right. After their first sips or bites, Ruby groans in ecstasy. Oh! This is delicious, she cries, waving her fork and spoon around her head. For some reason, Taiyang didn't have chopsticks in his house. Weird. Naruto smiles at Ruby. Oh hell yeah it is. Ramen is the food of the gods. Hell, it should revered like the log, he declares, before realizing what he said. Oops, he thinks, as everyone looks at him like he's insane. Yang's the one to break the silence. What? Log? She asks carefully. Naruto thinks himself, pondering how to answer. Well, he begins, my people had a pseudo-religion founded on the signature technique created by our Lord First Hokage, who was our village leader. He could swap places, with a log. He ends. Stammeringly, realizing his excuse for the shinobi religion, which should not be confused with the shinobi creed, was tenuous at best. The chances of them believing him was low. Everyone looks at him in confusion, before Yang breaks the silence. Again. I get it. So he could teleport, and a log would appear where he was, she asks. Not quite. Naruto replies, the log needs to be there already, in some way, shape or form. From the smallest drop of water, to the largest tree. But if he was about to be hit, his attacker would only hit a log. He smiles, proud of the history of his people. Huh. Taeyong comments, never heard of a semblance like that. Where was your village located? Outside Mistral and Vacuo. Naruto replied, having heard of the kingdoms earlier. Huh. Did you stop there on your way to Vale? Ruby asks. I didn't, no. I traveled here on foot, and later entered the city of Vale after a few weeks in the wilds. Taeyong was shocked. You lived in the forests for a couple weeks? What about the Grim? How did you deal with them without a team to take watches? Naruto smiled nervously. I've mastered a power called. He strives to remember. It's not called sage power, that's what I am, a sage. I guess it's called the intake of natural energy, but does it have a proper name? Gonna have to ask the toads. He refocuses on his hosts, who are looking at him quizzically. Sorry, got lost in thought. Anyways, I can't remember the proper name for the technique, but it bestows upon me sagehood, which allows me to sense natural energy, and take it into my body. I can sense the Grim with it, and since it makes me one with nature, they ignore me as they would a bush, or a tree. Besides, even if they did sense me, I'd just wake up and thrash them. Yang was interested. So your semblance allows you to basically hide from the Grim? Meh, sounds okay. I think mine's better though. Ruby's bouncing in her seat, but that's not all you can do. You were making water things earlier. And moving super fast. Oh. That reminds me. What little sis? Yang asks. Okay, so today I was at a dust shop, and then this guy with a bunch of thugs came in and started robbing the place. Then one of them tried robbing me and Taeyong interrupts. What? You were robbed, he yells, looking at her. No dad, I threw him through the window. Then when I went out on the street, all the other guys tried to get me. Taeyong is really nervous now. You got into a fight? Are the guys who attacked you okay? Yeah, they should be. I only used the blunt of my scythe on the guys without their aura activated. Although they might need the hospital, I hope they're okay. Get on with the story, sis. Or is that it? Ruby frantically waves her hands. No. Okay, then the leader came out to fight. He was really weird. All the other guys wore black suits and red ties with red glasses, but this guy had a big white coat with a bowler. He even had orange hair. Both Taeyong and Yang are shocked at the same time, but for different reasons. Before Taeyong can comment, Yang interrupts, you fought Junior's goons? I'm gonna get him so hard when I see him next, she yells. Taeyong's next. That sounds like Roman Torchwick. The biggest criminal in Vale right now. He's supposed to be almost on par with a huntsman. Are you alright? What happened? He cries. Ruby giggles sheepishly. Well, he launched a weird flame dust flare at me, but then out of nowhere, Naruto leapt in. Both Yang and Taeyong look at Naruto gratefully, who's rubbing the back of his head. He kicked the flare out of the air and into a nearby building. It was so cool. Hey, I forgot to ask, why didn't your robe get burnt by it? Naruto frowns. I actually don't know. Any idea, guys? Gyuki answers. Well, it's because you overloaded the creation of all things with chakra. You created a robe like the sage's tools, with special powers. From what you've shown, it must be either fireproof, or extraordinarily durable, maybe even capable of blocking swords. It's shaped by intent, so what did you want when you created the cloak? Naruto thinks to himself. Well, I wanted something that could stop the rain, and something that commemorated Obito, Nagato and Itachi. Oh, and I wanted it to be warm. And not be damaged by kunai. Naruto remembers when he dropped his kunai on his pants on a mission, they were completely shredded. He had to wrap his jacket around his waist for that mission. Gyuki sighs. No wonder the technique used so much chakra. He wanted a cloak that did much more than even the tools. Maybe the fireproof comes from him wanting it to be warm? Or from Itachi, he was fond of fire. Whatever the three people he thought of, some power Naruto associates with them will be bonded to this cloak. Gods, I hope he doesn't lose it. Kurama roars in laughter. Oh, he'll lose it, Gyuki. In fact, he might even give it away to someone on the street. Gyuki freezes in fear. We can't let that happen. Kurama stops laughing. Just don't tell him, the brat won't lose it if he doesn't think it matters. He only loses things he tries not to lose. Gyuki looks at Kurama dubiously. That doesn't reassure me, he groans, getting pats on the back from some of the other tailed beasts. While this conversation is happening, Naruto's answering Ruby. Well, that cloak's special. I made it from some really tough material. I met this guy who could make things out of his aura, and he made that cloak for me. Actually, that's a good point, it's a cloak, not a robe. It goes over my normal clothes, instead of being my normal clothes. Ruby nods wisely, making a note of the distinction, while Yang looks exasperated at another cloak fanatic being found out. You were saying about that Torchwick guy, Rubes? Yang prompts, curious. That can't be it, you didn't wait just to say you found a new friend. Ruby nods happily. Yeah. After that, Naruto fought Torchwick, dodging all his flares. It was amazing, he was as fast as Uncle Crow. Anyways, Naruto got hit by a barrage of flares, sending him into an adjacent building. Then Torchwick ran up a building, and I chases him. Taeyong disapproved. You just left Naruto there. Knowing that he might be injured, he glances at Naruto. I'm sorry that she left you there, but it looks like you're alright. Naruto nods, smiling. It's fine. She sent the old guy to check on me, so don't blame her. She did her duty. Good. Now, continue, dear. You said you were chasing Torchwick up onto the roof? Ruby nods, enthused beyond belief. Yeah. Then, when I got to the top, I saw him running away along the rooftop, so I told him to stop. Yang interrupts, a beatific smile on her face. You told a criminal to stop running away? Rubes, that's like telling your opponent to stop dodging in a fight. They won't do it, she cries out, slamming her hand on the table in laughter. I know that now, Yang. Ruby pouts, before continuing her story. Anyways, right when I thought I had him, a bullhead came up from behind the building. It had a door open, and he climbed inside. Then some metal things hit him in the back, although they didn't do anything because of his aura. Actually, Naruto, were those the kunai you told me about? She asks. Yes, they were. Although I also used shuriken, which are primarily designed for throwing, and better at it, he replies, but come on Ruby, tell them the rest, he urges. Yeah, so Naruto attacked him, and then he yelled something into the bullhead as he started firing more flares at us, when a huntress blocked them all. Taeyong is relieved. Oh, a huntress arrived. That's good, so they took out Torchwick? Ruby shakes her head in the negative. No, that's when Torchwick's partner came out, she ends solemnly. Naruto frowns, crossing his hands in front of his face. While her powers were not particularly noteworthy, she was more powerful than Torchwick, he muses as Ruby explains how she bombarded them with fireballs, and how Naruto had stopped them all with some water opposite of them. She continues, reaching the part where the stranger shot a lightning bolt at them. And then the weird lady shot a lightning bolt at us. It was insane. It was like she had multiple semblances. She trails off musingly. Taeyong's face reflects his fear. Oh shit. They fought either an extremely adept user of dust, on the same level as the Schnee, or they fought a maiden. Both of those are terrible options, he thinks. Anyways, Naruto got me out of the way of the lightning, and then the bullhead flew away in the distraction. Ruby concludes her epic tale, now standing on her chair, arms raised to the heavens. Then she totters, and falls. Oof. Taeyong's more relieved now. Thank you for saving my daughter, Naruto. If there's any way I can repay you, please let me know, he finishes, sincerely. Yang agrees, nodding. Well, Ruby says slyly, you could give him a place to stay for a week, she suggests, causing Taeyong to look at Naruto. You don't have a place to stay? No, of course you don't, you said you lived in the woods. Well, if you'd like, you can stay here in Crow's room until you find a place, he offers, still concerned about a boy sleeping in the same house as his baby girls. Why are you only staying a week? Do you think you'll be able to find a place in that time frame? Unless you work your ass off, you won't be able to afford a place, and it takes a while to find a job herein. Vale, she asks, worried. Nah, he'll be fine. Ruby blows off. He's already got a place to stay, he just can't go there for a week. She trails off, nervous. Where will you be going then, Naruto? And why can't you stay there now, he questions, before reiterating. Not that I don't want you around. But I'd assume a teenage boy would like to move into his own place, he ends. If he's only staying here cause of Yang and Ruby, I'll break his legs. Well Dad, after the fight we were taken by the Huntress, and then we met someone who offered to house Naruto, and myself. What? Taeyong roars, outraged. Who tried to take you away? Dad. You're overreacting. The Huntress took us to the police station, and we met Professor Ojban there. He offered us both positions at Beacon, she squeaks. Taeyong calmed down, looking at them both. Are you sure you want to go? He asks. You still have 2 years at Signal Academy, you aren't ready for Beacon yet. Ruby huffs. I can fight Yang, and she's going to Beacon. But you can't beat Yang yet. Taeyong cautions, until you do, I don't feel comfortable sending you to Beacon. Maybe next year. Naruto feels uncomfortable being in this conversation. On one hand, he thinks Ruby should be allowed to go, especially since she's been offered a position. On the other, he understands why Taeyong wanted her to stay. Sakura had complained vigorously about how overprotective her parents were on more than one occasion. Fine. Ruby yelled, tears appearing in her eyes. I won't go. She leaves the table, and runs to her room. Silence fills the dining room. Well, Dad, I think that you should let her go. Yang starts. However, Taeyong shakes his head. I'm sorry Yang, but if she can't fight you on an equal level, then she's not ready for Beacon. Give her some time, then she can go. Naruto fidgets, and strains to not speak. Taeyong notices however, and asks if he has anything to say. Well, you're saying that Ruby can't beat Yang, so she can't go to Beacon. What if she beat Yang before the week was up, he suggests. Yang muses, considering. If I throw the match, then Ruby could go to Beacon, that way she won't be upset. It's a good idea. She makes her support for the idea known. That's a great idea, Dad. Taeyong considers, before speaking. You aren't wrong. Fine. If Ruby can defeat Yang before initiation, then I'll let her go. Yang, go tell Ruby about this. Yang nods, and leaves Naruto and Taeyong together. Taeyong looks at Naruto, before sighing. Kid, I get it. You want your friend to go to Beacon with you, but Ruby's 2 whole years behind Yang. She can't beat her, even if she trained from dawn till dusk every day. I'm afraid you'll be going on this Journey alone. Naruto frowns. With respect, Mr. Xiaolong, I will be training Ruby during the week. Taeyang is shocked. What makes you think that I can't train her, he growls. Other than the fact that I don't want you to sabotage her to make her stay, I also can tell you're a hand-to-hand combatant, like Yang. Ruby isn't, and your training method wouldn't help her. Unless you got her uncle here, she won't improve. So I'll be teaching her some things before the week is done. Naruto declares. And if I can't get her on Yang's level before the week is up, then I won't go to Beacon. I'll teach her until no one can say she can't go. Taeyang is shocked, before he smiles. Good luck then. Naruto reciprocates his smile. I won't need it. The next day, Ruby rushes out from her house, scythe in hand, and ready to train. She's got less than a week to train and beat Yang, and she's gonna start now. Before she can move across the yard, however, a shadow looms in front of her. Turning, she sees Naruto sitting on the roof, looking at her. With a backflip, he leaps from the house, landing in front of her, the wind moving his cloak slowly. Yo, you won't believe what I found in your uncle's room, he says, greeting her. No time to talk, Naruto, I've gotta go practice to beat Yang, she says urgently. I know. I suggested the idea, and I'm gonna help you, he replies, crossing his arms. What do you mean, she asks, distractedly. You're gonna teach me stuff? Yep, he says proudly, popping the P, no offense, she questions, but what can you teach me? You're strong, but you seem to be a semblance-based fighter. Naruto smiles proudly, puffing out his chest. I've only taught one person before you. They ended up defeating the body of an S-class huntsman. Ruby's shocked. So, what did you teach this person? Naruto ruffles her hair. How to manipulate their energy, their aura, into this. He holds out his hand, and concentrating, is shocked when a green Rasengan appears in his hand. Why's it green? Usually they're blue. He thinks to himself. Ruby is also shocked. You mean, that's pure aura manipulation, she cries. Yes. Naruto smiles. And I think you could learn it too. Ruby is stunned, before smiling brilliantly. Well, what does it do? I mean, it's pretty, but is it an attack, a defensive technique, or something that's going to boost my aura control? Naruto considers. Since he inherited the sage's inherent knowledge of chakra, he knew how to teach the Rasengan to someone without half of their own chakra, even though it wouldn't be as strong, they should be able to. Well, it will increase how well you can control your aura, but this is what it's primarily designed for. He walks over to a large boulder, before turning. Is this rock important for anything? He asks, sheepishly. Ruby shakes her head in the negative, and Naruto turns. He reaches back, smashing the Rasengan into the boulder, almost completely eviscerating it. That was a lot more powerful than normal. What's going on, he thinks, before creating a shadow clone in the debris where Ruby couldn't see it. Go find out what's going on, the clone nods, before flickering away. Naruto leaves the dust cloud, and sees Ruby staring at him in awe. That's what I hope you can learn. Of course, you won't master it before the week is over, so we'll also be studying something I doubt you've learned, considering how you fought last night. Ruby looks at him with eager eyes. What? What? She squeals, excited. Naruto smirks, raising a single finger. Deception, he declares proudly. Ruby tumbles over, before rising up. What? Why would I need to learn to lie? Lying's wrong. Naruto bops her head. You fool. Heh, this is kinda fun. I mean deceiving your opponent in combat. Now come on, I don't want Yang watching you train and thinking of ways to fight. Ruby follows Naruto into the woods, a little skip in her step. She's gonna win. She's going to Beacon. And not even the gods will be able to stop her. After 5 days of training, Naruto gazed at Ruby as she ran around the clearing. He didn't want to train her speed much, because she already had that covered, but it helped boost her confidence. And the sage knows that everyone needs a confidence booster in training. As Ruby ground to a halt, Naruto sighed, her face becoming downcast. Ruby, you need to be able to stop immediately, not slow down before stopping. Otherwise you can't use your semblance in active combat, just as an escape, he admonished. Yeah, I know, but it's just so hard to stop moving, she protests, raising her arms. Now, let's try again. Naruto looks up at the sun. Bad idea, you have your match with Yang in a couple hours. Better get some rest, or at least eat something. It's bad to fight on an empty stomach. Ruby nods, then looks at Naruto hopefully. Cookies, she asks, engaging the dreaded puppy dog eyes jutsu. Naruto flinches, before acquiescing. Fine. We'll get some cookies, but you're also going to eat some power bars first. Ruby groans. The power bars were so gross. They weren't actually power bars, they were a type of food pill that Gyuki knew about from the hidden cloud. It turned out being the tailed beast inside the Raikage's brother lead to him learning some useful things. They both walk back to the house. Naruto looks at Ruby, full of pride. While it wasn't the first time he taught a student, he felt that Konohamaru was less a student and more of a boy he taught a cool trick to. Ruby, on the other hand, he'd taught more than a single jutsu. He'd taught her how to fight like a shinobi, which would serve her greatly in the fights against people. Not so well on Grim, but hey, they sucked anyways. As they approached the house, they saw Yang stretching in front. She turned, waving at them. Hey guys. How's it going? She called out. Pretty good. Naruto replied, gratefully. They'd let him stay here for a couple of days, which he was super grateful for. While he could have easily lived out in the woods, living with people was always nicer. Great sis. Soon I'll beat you. Ruby cried proudly, pointing imperiously at Yang, who feigned fear. Oh my. Such ferocity. I'm doomed, she wailed, falling to her knees. I can't stand before such martial prowess. Naruto squinted, looking at Yang closely. It almost seems as though she wants to. His eyes widened slightly, as he glanced at Ruby. Of course. Let's just see how this goes. Ruby smiled brightly, hugging Yang, who notices the change in Ruby's wardrobe. Instead of wearing extra sniper rounds on her belt, she now had 3 roundish pouches. The pouches were black, with red highlights that matched the rest of her gear. She was also wearing something on her forehead, but Yang couldn't quite make out what it was under Ruby's hair. Yang rubbed Ruby's head, before pushing her away. Hey Rubes, why don't we have the match now? Then we can back our bags for Beacon, she suggests, winking. Ruby smiles, and nods. Get Dad? I want to thank Naruto. Yang grins. Sure, she heads up into the house, yelling boisterously. Ruby turns towards Naruto, who's looking up at the sun. Hey, Naruto. He turns, looking at her, the sun framing his head. Thanks for teaching me. I'm way tougher than I was before, and it's all thanks to you. I'd like to pay you back. Naruto shakes his head. Nah, you guys gave me a place to stay. It was the least I could do. Still, when we have time, I'd like to help you build a weapon for yourself. Naruto's eyes widen imperceptibly. Oh. Do I really need one? Meh, better to conserve my jutsu. At the very least, it'll mislead people into thinking I'm a weapons-based fighter. Thanks Ruby. I'll take you up on that at Beacon, he beams. Ruby nearly glows with the praise. He really believes I can beat Yang. I won't let him down. They both hear steps leaving the house, and see Yang walking out, confused. She approaches them. Dad said to give him a few minutes to get ready. Ruby shrugs, nodding. Naruto, however, frowns, with Yang catching it. She looks at him, and scowls back. She nods, scowling as well. Naruto sighs, reaching behind his head. Well, what can you do? After a few minutes, they hear heavy stomping coming from the house, before Taeyong comes out. But he's in full battle garb, however it appears that he doesn't have a weapon on him. Naruto glares at Taeyong as Ruby calls out to him. Hey Dad, why re you in your combat gear? You going somewhere? Oh, are Yang and I fighting away from the house? Taeyong shakes his head as he crosses the yard. Sorry, dear, but you aren't fighting Yang. Ruby tenses. You will be fighting me. Authoress note, : Well, how is it? I think it was pretty obvious, but hey, I'm new at this. Sue me. Please review plot guesses. If you get it right, I'll PM you a tidbit of information you might want. Thank you for watching the video, and comment down below if you want to see the next part. And of course, like, subscribe and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.